C, how are you? Long time. Been a very long time. Like a month. That seems like a very long time. Especially because a lot of you guys have been making regular videos recently, and I feel like I've been missing out, but the holidays are crazy. You know, I get some time off from work, but then I spend most of it with my family and my kids, and the time goes by very quickly, and I have all these ambitions of making videos, and you know, it's right around the time where I would be doing, you know, like my top favorite albums of the year and stuff, and you know, I put the albums aside and I'm like, oh man, I'll make this video, and I just never get around to it. So now we're into January. I may still try to gather my shit together to do that. So we'll see. We'll see. It's winter here in New England, and I listen to a lot more spiritually enriching stuff. I get very introspective in my head, and yeah, it's not that I don't listen to fun stuff, but it's you know, I listen to a little more crazy stuff. I have a little more time to listen, even though I don't have time to do a lot of other stuff. So usually when I'm listening, I'm working on my computer and whatnot, but you know, I find that I listen more closely maybe in the winter than I do in the nicer weather. I feel like the nicer weather, I'm always doing something when music is playing, like making dinner, or I'm a little more distracted. So anyway, I've been listening to a lot of jazz and a lot of improvised jazz, and I just want to share a couple of things with you. This would be like a listening stack, so things that I've been listening to a couple of times. Excuse me, I like to listen to things 2 or 3 times when I take them off the shelf before I put them back. Just how I roll. So we'll start off with this guy, Hank Roberts, who is a cello player. This album's Black Pastels. You should look it up. It's got a little sock cut in it. Pretty cool, man. This guy does, it's not improvised. Got Bill Frisell on here as well, which just brings this to a whole other level. And there's lots of vocals on it as well. Some JMT records out of Germany. This one's really just something else. Again, there's vocals on here which I don't normally go for, but there's some wordless vocals, and the vocals don't seem to, they just add to it in this case. Yeah, I really dig it. Hank Roberts. I had never heard of this cat before until I picked this up. Yeah, I'm just totally digging it. Kind of fusion-y, a little bit dated. I think this came out '88. It has a little bit of that sound to it, but not enough to distract you from listening. Some deep stuff happening on this one. Hank Roberts, Black Pastels. So next up is Billy Bang's Survival Ensemble, Black Man's Blues. This is also a European album. I believe it's Germany, made in Germany. No Business Records. Billy Bang, violinist, activist. He's got quite a big catalog. There's not a lot of exciting stuff to be had on this album jacket here, but musically, this is absolutely wonderful. It's everything that I love about jazz and the free and improvised avant-garde jazz that I really like to listen to. Some spoken word poetry on this. There's lots of breathing room. It kind of reminds me of some of Marion Brown's albums that way. Yeah, this is like deep deep spiritual stuff. I think this was one of the first albums I pulled off my shelf to start the new year this year, 2015. And I've listened to it a couple of times since, and I will probably listen to it again because it's amazing. Anyway, this is a recording that was made in the late 70s and recently, let's see, 2011, so recently unearthed. 2011 I think is somewhere around when he passed away as well. That's interesting. Anyway, there's only 2 tracks on this. If you buy the CD version, there's a whole lot more material to be had, which I thought about doing, but just went with this. If you're into the spiritual thing, you know, percussion, sparse, lots of space, and some poetry, man, this is really fantastic. Deep album. Next up, another violinist. Michael White, Pneuma. You guys probably all know this on Impulse, ABC. Again, really not much to be had. Like, it's a promo copy, which is nice. Not much to be had as far as the jacket goes, but I mean, look at that. There's a lot happening on here. One of these tracks, maybe the Blessing song, was on a soul jazz comp that came out somewhat recently. Yeah, lots of players on this. Lots of vocals give it sort of a spiritually gospel kind of feel to it. Yeah, some of the tracks on here are just absolutely beautiful. Again, ABC Impulse, Michael White, you got to check this out. He's got a big catalog too, and some of his albums go for big money. This one you can kind of find. I've also seen a version without the picture on it, just the names, and they, you know, it's not big money, you know, around 10 bucks, something like that, 10 bucks US. You can pick this up for in relatively decent shape. Again, not much to look at, but sonically, this one is spot on. Again, very spiritual, which I guess is kind of what I've been into. So, pardon me while I take a sip. Bourbon. American bourbon, in case you're wondering. Next up, Jack DeJohnette. I don't remember how long I've had this. Album is called Sorcery, and this is a kind of a departure maybe for him. There's times where it almost sounds like there's electronics on this. There's lots of processing, like reverbs and delays and stuff. There's one track on here, The Right Time, which is just all vocalizations. Really, I don't use this word often, but really tripped out shit on here. This album is crazy. Beanie Maupin, John Abercrombie, Dave Holland, Jack DeJohnette, Michael Fellerman. Yeah, just huge players on this. Yep, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tracks, a couple of long ones. 1974 Prestige Records. This is the Green Fantasy Prestige label. If you don't know this one, you have to check it out. Jack DeJohnette, Sorcery. Again, very spiritual. It's just where my head's at. Yeah, really fantastic. And the cover art is just wonderful. I don't know if you can see that, if it's glossy or whatever, but great album. Got one more. This one, yeah. I've had a few copies of this. It's hard to find one. It took me a while to find one that was really quiet, and you need the quiet on this one because of the dynamics. So Duke Edwards, and the young ones, Is It Too Late? So, boy, what do I say about this guy? This guy doesn't play an instrument per se. It says he does some percussion on here. He comes off as more of a preacher and not a religious preacher, but a social preacher, and it's deep, and it's not happy. This is not a light listen. This is a heavy listen. His manner of speech is very heavy. There's a lot of weight to it. There's times where it almost feels like he's got tears in his eyes. It's incredible. I mean, the only thing I can compare it to, I believe this is his only album as well. You guys can correct me if you've seen other stuff. I'd be interested in checking out, but I believe this is his only album. And the players on here, I don't recognize any of the names either. The only thing I can compare it to is a bunch of videos ago, when I first started doing this, I shared an album by Count Ossie and the Mystic Revelation of Rastafari, and the album was called Brown Nation. It's the only thing I can compare this to, sort of a preacher style delivery of words and sort of very spiritual, sparse, Afro-influenced music underneath it. This album is deep. Again, you know, if you're looking for this, try to find a mint copy, especially in the vinyl area, because the dynamics of this, there's lots of quiet, and you really don't, the noise fucks it up. If you have a crackly copy, it just, listening for me is interrupted, and I just want to absorb this one. So, you know, it took me 2 or 3 times, but I finally got it. And yeah, this is killer. This is a killer album. Again, it's not a light listen. Very, very heavy and deep, but I find it very spiritually rewarding. So, there you go. BC! I don't know if I've said anything about you guys. Fred, I've been watching a lot of your videos. James, you know, I sent you some VCLT. You did like a live unboxing, which was absolutely fabulous, and I loved your reaction to what I sent you. I mean, you look like a little kid. Made my day. Oh, I killed my bourbon. Yeah, it's too many people to mention. Mike, I just watched you made a couple of videos recently. Yeah, you know, I've been wanting to, haven't got to it until now. Hopefully you'll dig the things that I shared. Listening stack, I think this is number 3 for me. And you know, I hope you guys had good holidays and a fabulous new year. And yeah, I'll be back soon. So until then, you know, James, you sent me a package, which I'm looking forward to receiving, and I'll try to do a live unboxing too, because you took the time to do that. And I thought it was kind of cool. So anyway, until the next video, I'll see you guys on the flip side.